So in the previous video I discussed what I learned from making beats nearly every single day for 2 years, and I thought that video was a very good segue into today's topic of the video because I feel like this is very relevant. Because those of you who are subscribed to me know that predominantly it is a lot of beat selling advice that is dished out on this channel, but first and foremost, this is a YouTube channel helping music producers make money with their craft. So it would be silly of me not to try and keep up the content about other streams of income as a music producer, and with this one being my main source of income, it is very relevant that I talk to you about this on the channel. Now the income I'm talking about is freelance services, and in this video I want to discuss what I've learned from the past 5 years of selling freelance services online. Now on this 5 years I've not only worked on freelance sites such as Sound Better, Fiverr, Air Gigs, People Per Hour, but I've also through networking and social media been able to pick up work with artists that way as well. And today I've worked on over 1,000 orders across all of these different aspects of freelance. And I want to take this chance to pass on some information you might find helpful, not only because I feel like this advice doesn't actually exist on YouTube that I've found, but I also feel like it could really help sway your decision on whether you want to start selling freelance services or not as a producer, whether it's for you, and how you can best go about doing it. Now there's a lot of points to get through, so I do want to try and summarize this as quick as possible, but make sure you do stick around till the end, because from now to the end of this video I'm going to be dishing out helpful advice for you that could help you along the way to selling freelance services in the future and increasing your income source as a music producer. And by the way, if you're not already, smash that subscribe button right now, as it's the best way to support the channel, and make sure you never miss any other content like this. Okay, let's get into the topic of the video. Now the impression you're hopefully going to get from this video is this is me talking to you, giving advice, not just giving you, oh, this is how you're going to make loads of money. I don't like them kind of videos because a lot of the time it's not realistic. I want to give you real advice which is transparent, which I feel like could help you. And even though some of these points may not feel like they're helpful in making you earn more money, I feel like it will give you a really good grasp of what to expect when you start selling freelance services, so nothing comes as a shock to you and it doesn't feel like as much you're jumping into the deep end when you start selling services. Which ties me into my first point, is you should not have an ego, or you should leave your ego on the side when you're working with other artists. Now what I mean by that is I've found from experience that what I think is right is not always the case. This could be in certain production decisions, mixing and mastering, how good a hook sounds. At the end of the day, it matters more what the artist thinks. I've had so many songs that I've written with artists where I think this hook's been really good and I love it, and then the artist doesn't like it at all and they want me to do something else, and then they've actually settled on something which I didn't think was as good but they think's amazing, and that's all that matters. And it's the same even for mixing and mastering. I do feel like mixing and mastering is something where people can be quite stubborn. I hope I'm not triggering anyone in the comments right now. It's just how I feel as a producer in this industry, because it's a lot more methodical when it comes to mixing and mastering. And it comes down to that as well. Sometimes the artist has certain preference on what they want, which means that even though what you might think is a good mix might not be a good mix to them because they had a certain sound in the head they wanted to be. Mixing and mastering services isn't my main income as a freelance producer, but the one thing I have learned is in the 200 odd orders I've done of it is what I think right hasn't always been the case. But what matters at the end of the day is trying to get the artist to arrive at the decision they want, asking them as many questions as possible, and just help them come to their own decisions on what they want the mix to sound like. Now the next point I want to make is the most fundamental point, which is really important when it comes to freelance services, is repeat business. Repeat business is what's going to give you that longevity and consistent income as a music maker selling freelance services. I cannot stress that enough. People think that to be able to make a large income you need to have artists knocking at your door all the time. I found, especially in quiet periods, that what saved my income every single month is having them repeat business who come back to me and order more songs. Building a relationship with clients, it feels a lot more sustainable and it feels a lot more natural as well, because not only do you get to build a relationship with the artists you work with, but you start to understand more and more what they want in a song, so it becomes easier and easier to work with them. So even though you might not be getting loads of artists coming into work, the work you're doing you're comfortable with because you know exactly what the score is. And it makes it a lot more easier to predict what your income's actually going to be every single month. Point number 3 is something that you may not have considered, and that is SEO. Now, on a lot of freelance sites, you're going to have to try and rank higher in order to get the business, and SEO is something that's really important. Now, what I mean by SEO is everything from your keywords to your thumbnails to your taglines. I'm more emphasizing Air Gigs and Fiverr and Sound Better when I talk about this. Especially Fiverr being the biggest freelance site in the world. You can get a whole host of services and music's in it as well. Fiverr's been my main source of income for a very long time now. And I found over time that having really captivating thumbnails and keeping the titles as specific as possible and niching everything and having very good descriptions has been what's really helped the channel grow. I could do videos telling you how to rank higher in Fiverr, but the honest truth is you just have to make everything as presentable as possible, explain your outcome, and be niche. It's like any social media platform. How do you want to be seen? Nowadays, as I've said in previous videos, niche is everything, and keywords as well, because there's a massive search engine on Fiverr, so you need to make sure you're hitting them right keywords. But if I had to say anything that was most important, it's probably going to be the thumbnail, because that is the first thing that any potential client's going to see on Fiverr or Airgigs when they're scrolling. Now, the next point I want to make, and I think this is incredibly important for longevity as a freelance music producer selling services, and that is to learn as you go. Now, what do I mean by learn as you go? Well, it is the premise that when you first get into freelance services, you're not going to be the best ever version of a producer you're going to be. It comes down to that question, are you good enough to sell freelance services? The answer is yes. Now, the next question is there ever a good time to actually start and a bad time? No. If you want to get into freelance services, you should start right now. It doesn't matter if you're the best producer in the world or the worst producer in the world. I said it about beat making as well. I am not the best music producer in the world. Even if I choose to believe in my own ego that I'm the best music producer in the world, the reality is there's always someone who's better than you anyway. But that shouldn't stop you from pursuing something and trying to sell a service in doing it. Because at the end of the day, people are going to keep coming back to work for you if they're happy with the working relationship and the product they're getting. And you're not always going to get it right, as I said, going back to the first point, but that doesn't matter because you learn as you go. Not only do you learn how to talk to clients a lot better, improving the communication, but you also learn a lot more about yourself, how you produce music, how you can be more efficient at your producing, and in time you will become a lot more confident in any situation that's thrown at you when it comes to taking work on, so you won't be put off by big projects. For example, when I was in my first year of selling freelance services, someone came to me from America asking me to write a musical, and I absolutely cacked myself at the thought of having to write a whole musical and produce some demos of the track. But I took a deep breath and I jumped straight in the deep end and I did it. It was a little bit stressful at times, but when I came out the other end, not only was the customer completely happy, but it was also the biggest project I'd done, and the confidence boost I got from doing this was incredible. Now, I'm going to be completely honest as well. There have been projects as well where I thought they were big or small. I've taken them on and I haven't done so well. Either the customer wasn't happy with it or it took a long time to get to the end result. And I've really embraced them periods because they're the ones where I've learned the most about the whole process of selling freelance services. Now, the next point I want to make is that you have to offer a variety of services. You can't just focus on one service right away, because if you focus on one service, that is limiting the amount of options that you could get. When I'm talking about Fiverr, Airgigs, and Sound Better again, offering multiple services gives you the best chance of trying to get work with people. Now, the problem with that is obviously you still need to try a niche where you can. So you need to ask the question, what type of services do you want to provide in terms of genre? Now, I'm a pop producer, so I focus on everything in pop. And for some songwriting things, I will go as far to say either indie pop, EDM, or even songwriter, acoustic, that kind of stuff for different services, and do multiple services as well, because there's no shame in it. And when it comes to artists looking for producers to work with, sometimes they are looking for certain niche. For example, if you sell certain types of Afro beats or tropical house, like I'm just listing genres at this point. But if you could be more genre specific with your services, potential customers are going to have a lot easier time following you, and it also limits the competition as well. Now, the last point I want to make, and it's very important, is the sort of reality of selling freelance services, and that is you're going to have quiet months and you're going to have busy months. I still have months where sometimes I feel like everything is going like this, and then the next month you're just completely brought right back down to earth again. And now, as I said earlier in this video, that's why repeat business is something that's so important, because as you build up a repeat business or a client base who keep coming back to you, the baseline of what you earn every month slowly goes up and up. So even when you have quiet months getting new customers, you're still going to have that nice safety blanket of repeat business, which when it comes to making that transition from being either part-time or full-time employed somewhere else to packing it all in and becoming a full-time freelance music producer, that's the sort of thing that's really going to matter and help you understand when the right time to jump in the deep end and pack in the 9-to-5 job will be. But yeah, I hope you found this video helpful, and if you've got any more questions, make sure you drop them in the comments below and I'll be sure to answer them in future short form content as I'm doing at the moment. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far, keep making music and I'll see you in the next video.